All right, so took me a little while to get that fire going this morning, but had a good time. Journey loves coming to the river, and she's feeling a little better. And I I actually took her home a while ago. Um, I had cut my finger and had to go home and dress it up. And then realized I'd forgotten my deer knuckle, which is my bearing block, and I carry this with me for friction fire all the time, and I've had it for a number of years. So I drove back out here to go find it, and I found it. And then this is my bow. This is my cottonwood bow. And if you look, I like a really solid piece of wood. I don't want a limb, just a bendable limb or anything like that. Doesn't work too well. So I use a solid piece of wood with just a little bit of a bow in it. And then if you can see, if I pull the tension tight, it's just not quite enough for it to touch the wood. This bow works really good. And this is the very first bow I ever made 8 years ago when I first started doing friction fire and or bow, of the bow drill fashion. And so I've just kept it. I'd made a couple cents, and just I don't know, that one there just works so well. I just carry it with me. And if I get caught with that one, I can make one. But anyway, used yucca for my fireboard and my spindle. I like yucca when it's warm because it's a softer material, and you can get your coal faster with less effort. But the kit doesn't last as long. You burn through your material quicker. But I'll still get about 12-15 fires out of this. Probably about two per burn in. And then as it gets cooler, I'll find me some good cottonwood and some willow spindles, and those will last quite a bit longer that I've found. But anyway, yeah, so been a good day, had a good cup of tea. One bit of advice I want to give you is when you're batoning, I've got a bad habit of when that wood is really straight grain. I was splitting some sycamore this morning, and that grain was really straight grained, and I could just tap my knife into it, then I could just bump it with my palm of my hand, and which is a dumb thing to do anyway, but I've done it for years. But today makes the day that I learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that anymore, because it wasn't when I was coming down on the knife that it cut me, is when I came back up and my hand was in line with that knife. And I tried out some new stropping compound last night, and that knife was very, very sharp, or still is very, very sharp, and just barely caught me, but it sliced me open pretty good. So my little piece of advice there is if you're going to baton, use a piece of wood, because then it keeps your hand away from that blade. You're at least that distance of the wood away. And then it's just like when you're using an axe. You want the axe to be taller than you. In other words, when you see me use that 19-inch axe, I'm usually on my knees, because I want the axe to hit the ground before it touches my flesh. I've had some near misses. I've used an axe my whole life, but nobody ever taught me the real correct way. And I've known of other people that, they'd be chopping wood and it would deflect and catch them in the ankle or in the shin. And the way to kind of alleviate some of that, mitigate, or however you want to say it, is, if you're using an axe, spread your legs. That way your axe is longer than you are. It'll hit the ground before it hits you. So same way with that baton, and use a piece of wood and it keeps your hand away from that blade. In the days when I just carried a pocket knife and that was it, I didn't use a knife enough to really worry about too much caution, just keep the blade away from me. But now that I use it for a number of uses, and they're usually 4.5 to 6 inch blades, some of them longer, for processing wood or cleaning fish or whatever, I keep them sharper now than I ever did. So it's good to have those safety practices that you use. Another thing I was thinking about today was a little bit a change of subject here, but since we're on the river, I've backpacked enough that, I have rationed a quart of water for 12 miles till I knew I was getting to the next water source. And when you do that enough, you start learning the value of water and what it really means. And people these days don't. They don't have a clue. You know, they don't even think about conservation. They do the doom and gloom of the world's running out of water, but it's not. The world reproduces water all the time. We just use it at a faster rate. We use it commercially. You know, water is money, and as long as people can make money off water, they're going to encourage you to use as much as possible. I'll give you an example. Let me grab a notebook here. I've got some notes I want to share with you. I put down. Okay, so what I've got is, this is water consumption data. This is from the USGS. They estimate that the average person uses 3,000 gallons per month. One person. Average family uses 9,300 gallons. I don't know what they're constituting as a family. Is it 3 or 4? I would guess probably 4 people, 2 adults and 2 kids maybe. I don't know. I mean, 4 would put you up into the 12,000 gallon range. So I don't know if you did it on average of each person. But on average, one person uses 80 to 100 gallons of water a day. I did an experiment here a while back with my shower, and I put a stainless steel big cook pot in there, like a 3 or 4 gallon. And I poured a gallon of water in there and made a mark to where the 1 gallon mark was. I put it in there because it was big enough to capture all water coming out of the shower. And so it averaged out real close to a gallon a minute. And I can take a 5-minute shower and be plenty. I can take a 3-minute shower, be plenty clean. But let's just say you want to, go all out and take a 5-minute shower. That's 5 gallons. You're going to drink an average of 1 gallon of water a day. And if let's just say you're one person, single residence, you use about a gallon for your cooking and stuff. That's 7 gallons. But let's just round it on up and say you use 10 gallons a day. And that's plenty of water for one person. I know that sounds ludicrous to some people, but 10 gallons is plenty of water. And if you live next to a creek like this water is so clear, I could take this water and just filter it through a Berkey filter. If I lived right here on the river, I could walk down here and grab 5 gallons of water every day, filter it, and have plenty of water. This water's clean enough you can just bathe in. Of course, I wouldn't use soap in the river, but you know what I mean. You could gather and I know you guys are going, oh man, we don't want to live like in the old times, but you don't have to. But I'm saying, though, is if this world's running out of water, like everybody says, we're going to run out of water and people are going to have to start, their idea of rationing is, okay, you can only water your garden for 20 minutes instead of 30 minutes and just stuff like that. Because they're not going to slow it down because water is money. And I'm going to choose to live my life on the conservative edge of it and stay with that. Probably less than 10 gallons a day. But that just astounded me. You can get by on what the average family uses. You can get, let's just go personal. On the average person, you can get by on 1/10 of the water. I mean, and be plenty hydrated, be clean, all your needs met. And there are people that would agree with me on that, I know. Cody Lundeen would be one, I'm sure. But I don't know. That was just interesting. I was sitting around one day after I'd done a backpacking trip thinking, man, how little water I used. And I still stayed clean on the trail. Not as clean as at home, but I was pretty clean. But on that trail, and it was kind of dry. It was dry pockets in between water sources. like I said, sometimes it was 12, 14 miles, sometimes 20 miles in between water sources. You just try to load up and make it from point A to point B. And we did 172 miles of it that way. But yeah, just kind of, just something to think about. Anyway, getting ready for some trips this winter and this fall, so looking forward to that. And so thank you guys for hanging out with me, and see you on the next one. Okay.